What's up, guys? Coach Tim here with Coach Zach, our Nogi Leg Lock specialist. We were both watching the UFC last night with Charles Oliviera versus Kevin Lee, and we were both very impressed with the way that Charles Oliviera was able to use the leg lock positions, not just to attack, but also to keep from getting hurt. So I've always been someone in MMA, I've always said that leg locks are very dangerous because in general, they put you in a very vulnerable position to get hit. So normally what we would see is if somebody goes for a leg lock, if they didn't get it really quick, the guy would stand up over him, and if the guy just kind of hangs on to the position, even if he puts the leg on the outside, you know, the guy just stands up over him and starts dropping punches, and eventually you end up in a position like this and getting TKO'd. So that's been what's happened a lot in MMA. I've even seen it happen from a position like this where the guy's going for a straight ankle lock here, and just one shot from this position to put the person unconscious. So, in my opinion, in the past, it's always been high risk, low reward to go for heel hooks and just leg locks in general. But what Charles Oliviera showed last night was there was ways that you can do it and keep yourself safe. So that's why I called Zach up this morning, and we decided to come in and work on it. So Zach's going to show us a couple of things that he was doing, because this is something that Zach does in general when he goes for leg locks that might not be legal under IBJJF standards, but for other grappling competitions, street fights, or MMA fights would be completely legal. So
yeah. So the one move that is going to help, so it makes the person not be able to strike as easy, it off balances, it kind of bridges the gap between size and strength and everything else, is the ability to go from the traditional ashi or the arimi or whatever else they call it, and being able to reap. So from this position, if you were to take the foot on the hip and you slide it across, it naturally turns the person's body. Okay, so this position right here is really helpful. Not only it exposes the hip, it keeps them from striking. So if I go from a straight, like you saw before, if I'm in the straight when I start going, he is fully accessible to my face. The second I take the foot on the hip and I start to reap it, the heel is exposed, and as soon as the heel is exposed, we can start to look to isolate. So you either get the tap, or even if the person stands up, so if they stand up on this position, and just like Coach was saying before, if they're standing in this position, they can just kind of rain down with the foot on the hip, because we are completely straight to each other, okay? If I take this foot and I reap it across, it immediately gets him turn, and it's really challenging for him to turn back and attack me, get a grip on me, anything else. He has access to my legs, but we're kind of worried about just getting punched in the head and getting knocked out. From this position, you could already see what happened to the foot. The foot came up, and now we're in a position where we can start to attack. So we can grab the foot here, we can grab in this kind of butterfly grip I really like, and we can start to roll through, and we can also extend it, and we can start to roll ourselves through, and we can land on the strong side, go back to our position, and look for this quick finish. But the ability to reap is going to be really effective in turning the body away, off balance our opponent, and exposing the heel so we can get the attack.
yeah, that's something that if you get too used to competitions where you don't reap, where you don't use the reap in training, like reaping is not necessarily that dangerous, I don't believe. It's more dangerous to not understand how to reap, because if you do it in the wrong situation, you can get really hurt. So let's go over that again. Maybe try it from this angle so you can see what it does to the knee. Okay. So he's got me in the standard ashi leg lock position, right? Which now I can come forward. I can get up fairly easily and put my weight forward.
Right.
All right. Once he reaps,
And I extend. Yeah.
it also depends on the flexibility the person has in their knee. I have fairly flexible hips and knees, but from this position, there's no way I could get close to his face with this foot on my belly here. Before I would do anything, I would have to get my hands on the mat, and by that time, he's already made an attack on my leg. Which feels very tight. The reap makes it very tight, and not to mention the different leg positions he could go into, where he could like figure four and lace. This is even worse. Right? There's a lot of positions he could get me in from this position. And like he said, even if I'm standing, you know, normally if I'm square, easy to beat somebody up from this position. Once he starts to stretch, again, if the person's hands are on the floor, they're not punching you in the face, and you have full access to their legs, okay? Let me get you in that position. So one thing that's what I try to stress with people in leg locks in general, especially MMA fights or street fights in particular, is if you start to lose a leg lock, like I really like what Zach was showing with the big reap, right? But sometimes on good opponents, once you're sweaty in a tough fight, the things slip out. Okay? So actually, come over this way. So his knee's in this position, I can finish. Once his knee clears, right, I no longer have the ability to finish from this position. But the person's escape is almost always going to be pulling away. So he pulls away. I don't just want to lay here and let him pull out. What I want to do is I want to use this so I can just cup the heel. I can use 2 hands or 1. In general, I'll use 1 hand on the heel and I use this hand for my own base. As he pull away, as he pulls away, he'll pull me up and I can come up and jump on the back, okay? One thing Oliviera did a lot yesterday, get down on his knee, is when he would reap, Kevin Lee would escape his knee and he would transition into a calf slice position. All right, so I'm not a big fan of the calf slice because I've never been that good at it. I've seen Charles Oliviera was able to do it a couple times in fights, but what I really like to do from here is, from this calf slice position, is to bring my outside leg through and make a hook, and then transition to a crab ride position, so I have both feet hooked inside the thighs from the back. Now I'm gonna let go of his heel, I'm gonna extend this leg out, catch the hips. Now from here I wanna pull forward, extend, and then attack the back from that position. So one more time, these are attacks you can use from the reap as the person starts to pull out. Get on his knee. So I reap. All right, he starts to pull out. First one is just come up. Follow him up. Spin this way. Second one is going to be, as the leg comes out, transition to a calf slice. This gives you solid control momentarily. Outside foot hooks in from behind. My right leg transitions to the other side. Now I can extend this leg. See, I want to sit that foot up to make him light. Catch his hips. Pull forward. Sit him on his butt. And go right into back attacks.